Alrighty, friends, it's super exciting. We're super excited because you did it once again. You hit the magic play button on yet another...
Kevin, another genteel episode of V8 Radio.
Genteel?
Means polite, refined, or, believe it or not, respectable.
So why did you choose that word?
I don't know. It just came up. It just came up.
There you go. Well, this is Genteel Kevin and Mike Q-Ball Clarke here at the helm of the V8 Radio podcast. And I'd like to welcome you to the show. We got a lot going on this episode to cover. This is going to be an important episode. This is going to be like, when we were growing up and on Tuesday night, the ABC network promos would come on where, Al Parker, the voiceover guy, Saturday on a very special love boat. That's what this is. So get ready for it. But before we get into all the super specialness, we'll get into the regular specialness, which is the automotive trivia question, right?
You can't wait. So, let's do this.
Everybody who tunes into the show for this reason knows that we throw out a couple of trivia questions in the beginning, and we let everybody ponder the universe for a while until the end of the show, and we reveal the riveting answers. And oh my gosh, it's just a big festival. So.
It is. It's the greatest podcast hook of all time.
Wish it was our idea.
Well, it can be as far as we're concerned. All right, so here's our question. All right, so Kevin and listener, what term did Oldsmobile use to describe their two-door hardtop cars with no B-pillar post?
Aha, the two-door hardtop cars, no B-pillar. So, in the overall automotive definition, a hardtop is a pillarless car. Mm-hmm. And that's a trivia question in itself, because there are people who think a hardtop meant to like some type of finish or treatment to the roof.
That would be incorrect.
Either not a convertible, or I see people that call vinyl top cars hardtop cars. And that is also incorrect. And true definition is the pillarless. So the windows all go down and it's a big open thing. And by the way, I love four-door hardtop cars.
Oh, for sure, 100%. Those are beautiful.
Yeah.
It's huge. That opening is just massive when all the windows are down.
Yeah. When I was a kid, my dad used to buy these cast off 10, 12-year-old used Cadillacs from the local dealer in town. And I remember he came home with a 73 Sedan DeVille. It was midnight blue with a white vinyl, that blue paisley interior.
Yes.
The Cadillac had. And it was a four-door hardtop. And you put all the windows down, and it was like being on a cruise ship. It was just this.
Right.
You had breezes coming by and, wide open. But what did Olds call theirs? Well, I'm going to say they call it the Holiday.
Oh.
The Holiday Coupe. I'm going to say that term applied.
Holiday Coupe. That sounds delightful.
Because just, like being on the cruise ship in the Cadillac, when you're in a two-door Olds, hardtop, no pillars, windows all down, you're kind of on holiday.
Anytime you're in a Cadillac, you're on a holiday. So final answer?
Yes, holiday.
Duly noted, sir.
I'm going to pause our trivia question to throw out a special shout out to our good friend, Mr. Mike Pistello, who was a recent guest.
Hey.
And a couple episodes ago, Mike shared a lot of stories about building engines that were built 120 years ago. Mike had sent in a letter to you and I got it in the mail, including a couple of Matchbox car versions of the GM bus that was the basis of the trivia question from that episode. And he sent a letter that was fantastic. It's a paper 3-fold printed letter that was typed on a typewriter.
Well, I'll be damned.
And he typed this. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. And I got to see if I have it with me, because it was hilarious reading this thing. Because you can clearly tell he's kind of struggling with his typing.
That's how it should be with Mike Pistello. He's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. And I would expect nothing less than analog communication technology from him. But he went on to say how much he enjoyed being a part of the episode, which we appreciate, and that he hopes there's a part 2 someday, which I would also like.
Yes.
And he said, please accept these the buses, put them on your shelf so when people come in, they can be befuddled by how a bus turned into a station wagon. And if you don't know that story, you got to listen to the podcast. And then he goes on to say, I'm typing this on an analog typewriter just in case the apocalypse occurs and I still need to send letters out, but I have no idea what I'm doing. So
Nice.
So that was very fun. So thank you for that, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Mike.
Yeah, we'll have him back on. Yeah.
Where's my bus?
I got it. It's next time you come to the shop. I got yours.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Good deal.
All right. Here's one for you. What? This could be 2 parts. It could be
Great.
1 part or 2 part. How do you want it? Do you want it a 1 part or a 2 part?
Give me a 2 part. At least I maybe can get partial credit.
All right. So, what was the last mass-produced vehicle that could be started with a hand crank?
Oh.
And when did it cease production? So to rephrase that, you could buy a certain vehicle up until a certain year and start it with a hand crank. What was it? And when did it stop?
Oh, my God. Yeah, here we go.
Yep.
Last mass-produced vehicle with a hand crank, and when did it cease production? I'm going to say the 1925 Ford Model A.
Can you turn the band down a little bit?
Sorry
Good
about
God.
Take 5, fellas. Take 5.
Yeah. And a 1 and a 2. All right. So 1925 Model A.
Yeah, Model A.
All right.
So, yeah. And that's the last time you could get it, was 25.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, good Lord. What a question.
I mean, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to what that could have been, we'll find out if that's your final answer.
Final answer. Duly note that, please.
All right. It is duly noted.
Right on.
Okay. Well, so we'll find out the answers to these riveting questions at the end of the show, and it's just going to be so satisfying. But let's get on to our very special episode.
Let's do this.
Which might have been a little overselling, but we'll find out. But here's the topic, right? So at the V8 Speed and Resto shop, we're very fortunate to be able to do a variety of different work on all kinds of different hot rods, classics, muscle cars, cool trucks, and whatnot. And the nature of this industry is that some of the vehicles we are building, we're truly building. We're doing a full car from an idea to drive it home or ship it somewhere, in which we've touched everything. We made every decision with the customer. We planned everything, you know, like from the stance and the powertrain and colors and all the stuff, custom modifications, body mods, all the stuff. What kind of interior. But there are other projects that come in that are either not full restorations. They might be an upgrade, might be some maintenance. And our philosophy on this is the mission statement of our shop is to connect people to the best times of their lives through things with wheels, which means there's a lot of room in the car culture to do a lot of different stuff, right?
For sure.
And there are some shops out there that only do, you know, full builds. There are also repair shops that only do repairs and everything in between. But we're fortunate to have the talent and the resources and the capabilities to kind of do all of it. Which means there are many times when a car will come in that has been, modified once before, or, you know, everything has been worked on, because these are in some cases, 30, 40, 50 or 100-year-old cars. So it's very, very unusual to get something that's never been touched. But sometimes people come to us and they go, hey man, I either just bought this car and it's got a bunch of stuff on it and it's not what I want, or it's not doing what I want, or in some cases it's this was a project that kind of stalled out and I want to get it going again, and I think you guys can help us with it and whatever. So the point being, sometimes cars come in that have parts choices made on them or systems choices that personally I might not agree with.
Right.
And it becomes a little bit of a challenge sometimes, because especially if somebody's invested time and money to make those choices, and then they're finding out that either they don't work the way they expected, or what I'm finding out even more so is that they don't know what to expect. And they don't know, like, what the consequences are of the choices they've made, right?
Right.
So, and this sounds kind of vague, but a great example would be the automotive aftermarket does a wonderful job of marketing parts and products.
Boy, howdy.
So, yeah, and good. I mean, that's what we want.
For sure.
But as Billy Joel said, you can't get the sound from the story in a magazine. When you see, like, a company that's advertising a high-performance suspension system for a particular car that's designed to provide, great handling and modern car performance and, maybe some autocross use, and it's got all the buzzwords, and it's tubular and geometry and, specific bushings and camber gain and all the stuff. Unless you experience that with your own two butt cheeks behind the wheel, you don't really know what that car is going to be like. So we see a lot of people who say, yeah, well, this car is cutting, carving corners at an autocross, and look at the stance and how it sits. I want that. So they buy the system with the coilovers and the, multi-adjustable shock absorbers and the big sway bars and all the stuff, quick ratio steering box. And then it gets put on the car. And then in some cases, we've received vehicles that the owner hasn't even driven yet because they weren't finished to that point. Mm-hmm. So the owner still has no experience with it. Or you drive the car and it will do everything that was promised in the ad, but at the cost or the expense of other factors that might still have been important that now no longer are there. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if you build I don't care, a Chevelle or a Mustang or a Camaro, any type of muscle car with a modern performance chassis in it, or a subframe or control arm upgrades, and you put spherical rod ends and heim joints or solid bushings in it and body mounts, or urethane engine mounts and urethane transmission mounts to make everything stiff with the goal of, I want this stiff, I want a rigid platform so I can go beat this car up and really enjoy it. Well, your drive to that event could be miserable. Right. Because you've taken all the compliance out of, not the suspension, you probably added compliance to the suspension, made the suspension better, but the road noise that used to get absorbed through rubber bushings and rubber body mounts and soft rubber transmission cross-member mounts and engine mounts that have some, medium durometer rubber instead of high, urethane. All that's gone. And then you add in additional factors like performance camshaft, higher compression, headers, louder, more free-flowing exhaust. And the one that really gets me is kind of the current mandate that many people have about putting a Ford 9-inch design rear axle in the car. Because the design of a 9-inch is such that it naturally makes gear noise. Mm-hmm. It's the ratio of where the pinion goes into the ring gear, how it meshes in the housing is different from, say, a GM 10 or 12 bolt or a Dana or whatever. So its inherent design makes gear noise. And when you start to couple that with higher gear ratios and different types of gear cutting, they can scream.
Oof.
And now sometimes you've taken the sound deadening out of the car under the carpet because you want to make it lighter and everything else. And pretty soon you're sitting in a tin can that makes noise every way possible.
Yeah, not an enjoyable experience.
Well, and it's counterintuitive because some people are like, oh yeah, that's what I want. Make it light, make it handle great and whatever.
Yeah. that might be great for a young person who is into that kind of thing. But I think you'll find as you age, certain things shift that are important to you with your vehicle than they used to be. I think I know the car you're talking about when you're mentioning this, and yeah, you can end up taking, all the things that made a car comfortable and throw it out the window, and yeah, you have a car that can really carve a corner and is great on the racetrack. But like you said earlier, getting to the event can rattle the fillings out of your teeth from all the noise and vibration that are being introduced now. And yeah, if you're into that, that's awesome. Personally, that would make me crazy, but well,
and it's not just one car. I mean, every car has some aspect of this, and I definitely want to clarify and say that I am not suggesting that if you put a set of tubular control arms with Delrin bushings on your car that it's going to be unbearable and loud. But what I am saying is, if you eliminate some of the other stuff, rubber is a bad word in high performance cars. We've been sold this idea that rubber sway bar bushings are too soft, and they don't allow the sway bar to keep the body roll under control, and they're the source of evil. And you know what? If you compare a rubber bushing to a urethane bushing, they are different. They're not that much different. And especially when it comes to aluminum body mounts. And, one car I drove recently had a modern transmission that you'd find in a GM truck, right?
Yes.
And in the car, I loved the gear split. It was an 8-speed. It was fantastic. It was very cool to enjoy all the benefits of multiple overdrives and the acceleration. But in the truck, it's mounted with like these giant energy absorbing, sound deadening rubber mounts. Some cars even have hydraulic engine mounts now, where they're actually oil dampened inside. There's a goo inside them to keep it smooth. Mm-hmm. And so the driving experience from the modern truck with the 8-speed or the 10-speed was very different from this car that had a rigid mounted 8-speed, because now all of a sudden that transmission felt like it was coming apart. I'm exaggerating, but right. You could clearly feel like shift to shift, and especially because it had a little bit of a performance tune in it to increase the shift pressure, which threw those shifts faster, which, you like generally. You want to feel that boom, boom, boom. But on the downshift, because those things kind of sequentially downshift too, it was like, what's happening here? And not only the transmission, so the transmission might have been, 5% more tactile than normal, right? You could perceive this 5% more. But when you pump that through the crossmember and then into the body of the car, and then couple that with how that increased shift pressure preloads and unloads the drive shaft, which then preloads and unloads the rear gear set, which is a Ford 9-inch design, which has its characteristics. And you've got a cacophony of sounds under the car that are now being amplified, and they combine to make something that, like you're saying, isn't something that I would want to drive all day.
That can be a little annoying if that's something that you're not used to, especially like you said earlier. If you bought this car sight unseen, and it was, maybe there was pictures in there in the ad of the underpinnings or the suspension, and all you think is like, holy cow, that's cool. Look at it. It's got a cool 4-link rear suspension. It's got tubular control arms. It's got, cool race buckets. This is going to be a cool car to drive around. And you get it, and you don't realize, all the sacrifices that have been made in the building of that car, and all the things that, all the sound deadening that's been removed, or in an effort to lighten the car up, or all the subframe connectors, if it's an F body, to stiffen things up, and how it's transmitting all that road noise and all that sound and all that vibration in there, and you didn't even think about that before you got that car, and that can be kind of disappointing and really sour that purchase for a buyer.
Yeah, and so what's the remedy? The remedy is that we've built tons of cars that have all the parts that we just mentioned, and they're fantastic.
Sure.
You just gotta be considerate, and you got to do it right, and you have to really weigh the benefits of how much does a particular part gain versus how much does it take away from something else that you might find important. And I say this a lot, but our modern cars, and especially our modern trucks, are so quiet, and they're so smooth, and they're so nice to drive that, say, in your case, you've got your Suburban, you drive that to work and back, and you come home, and then you get behind the wheel of something that's got, kind of an overly amped up suspension, and you're like, and the rear end is howling when you accelerate or decelerate, and you step on the brakes and they howl because, that's another one, is disc brakes can create harmonics, especially rears, that echo through the whole rear end housing and then through the 4-link, and and all of a sudden you were looking to escape your week and take this thing on a cruise night with your wife or your kids, and nobody can talk in the car, and everyone's asking questions. What was that? And it's like, is this going to fall apart? And it's like, well, yeah, but hold on. I'm going to go around one high-speed corner on this trip, and it's going to be pretty flat.
Isn't this great?
Yeah, isn't that awesome? And it's the same thing with people that are like, I want 1,000 horsepower, peak horsepower engine. Yeah, okay, well, you're gonna hit that RPM like twice a year for 5 seconds,
right?
But all the rest of the time, you're dealing with a giant camshaft and a high stall speed torque converter and all things that go along with it.
Right.
So I think we have to be honest in our shop and as car builders. We got to be honest with the customer, and the customer has to be open to some experience to say, okay.
Right.
Let's throw the numbers out the window, and let's throw the specifications out the window. Let's throw the parts out the window, and let's talk about your experience driving this car, right? Let's envision, and I say this before, but what's the best day, right? Is it cruising down, and people say the same thing. Oh man, cruising down the highway with, me and my gal, and we're listening to the music, and it's great. Never do they say, and the rear end is screaming so loud I can't hear her, and the shifting is knocking the fillings out of my teeth, and I hear everything in the suspension. They don't ever ask for that.
Yeah. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, but we get resistance when we say, okay, let's build in some things so that we control that noise and control. Well, no, man, I don't want to add weight to the car, and I don't want rubber stock bushings because look, I brought you the car and the bushings are all junk. Yeah, they're also 50 years old. Or if you want something a little better, let's do a few other things in the car. Let's add hush mat sound deadening from top to bottom to make your air conditioning perform better, to isolate some of that sound. Let's make sure that our transmission is mounted in such a way, our engine is mounted in such a way. Even, for me, it's down to like the cooling fans. We've talked about how I like a clutch fan if it's going to work and do everything it needs to do over a lot of electric fans, because I don't want to sound like a helicopter coming in when I pull in somewhere.
Right.
It's just me. And what you find is that if you can hit those things, which none of those are really bad things by themselves, but they add up to a fatiguing experience in the car. And what they add up to is a heightened sense of feeling like you got to pay attention to something. So in my recent example, I was driving a particular car and it was making all kinds of noises, and I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like driving this thing, doing little driving tests. Like I'm moving the wheel back and forth to hear, do I have a loose suspension component in the back? Is this noise in the front or the back? Is it transmission? Is it rear end? Is it suspension? Is it a brake? And I'm doing all these things instead of enjoying my drive. Staring at gauges, freaking out. Not freaking out, but and when you couple that with the reality of most of us don't get a chance to drive these cars every day. So when you do drive the car, you finally get the time, you want to know that that thing is sorted out. You don't have to pay attention to all that stuff. You just get in and drive it, enjoy it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you want the drive to be a pleasure. And it can't be if you're worried about every little thing about it.
Yeah. And every little thing could be fine. You know, it could be just the sum of what these particular parts are going to do. Mm-hmm. But if you're not used to it, you're not expecting it, and especially if you have somebody in the car with you who's not used to it or expecting it, the last thing you want to do is have to justify all your decisions you made on your cool car. You know, I've seen it where people have picked them up from the shop, and whoever's with them, you know, it could be a little kid. Dad, why is it rattling? You know, and they're like, or you know, the significant other is like, boy, you spent a lot of money on this, and it shakes. You know, and it's like, well, see, honey, it's got a long duration camshaft. Okay, well, it's loud. You know, whatever.
Right.
So I am in no way suggesting that everybody needs to drive around a '60s Cadillac that you can't feel the road. Mm-hmm. But I think a worthwhile conversation about that those things really can matter, and they just need to be brought to the surface to be discussed, so that what I was saying before of, let's not talk about the horsepower numbers. Let's talk about what experience you want to have when you put your foot to the floor. Let's talk about how, instead of the materials and the suspension design, let's talk about how you drive. You know, if you see an S-curve sign coming up, are you the kind of guy that floors it or hits the brakes, right? And then we'll work together to come up with that list of parts and the design and the modifications to the car that will allow you to have the experience you're expecting and that you really dream of, without all the negative nonsense that can go with it.
For sure. I mean, people can fall into that trap. It's important that you said you have to be honest with yourself about how you're going to drive this car and what's important to you, because it's easy to fall into that trap where you see a video like say you're watching a Good Guys of Autocross, and you see a full Pro Touring 69 Camaro, rolling through the autocross course, and it's flat as can be, going through these turns, and you're like, that'd be cool. I want that. But maybe that's not how you're going to drive the car. And while it's attractive to see that and you think, wow, that's cool, I want that, that's maybe not the car for you. That maybe not how you're going to drive it, and therefore it's not going to be an enjoyable car for you. Maybe the interior with the racing buckets aren't going to fit you very well, and it's going to be uncomfortable to get in and out, and you're going to say to yourself, why did I get this car? Where if you're honest with yourself and say, yeah, I just want to drive this car, if there's a cool curve in my town somewhere, I can take it at a little bit of speed, and it's going to be cool, and I'm going to be comfortable, and I'm not going to slide all over the place. Maybe that's what I want, and that can be taken care of for you. But being honest with yourself is paramount to having a car that you're going to truly love and truly enjoy and keep forever.
Yeah. And so you raised some really great points. Kelly pointed out that there are many situations where this happens, and so the end result is the owner now has a car that they spent a lot of money on. They spent a lot of mental time dreaming about and planning, and they go through the build process, and then they get what they ordered. And if it's maybe not what they wanted, or they find out like, yeah, boy, I really like the look of those seats, but they hurt my back, or I went to the local donut cruise and I look like an idiot getting out of it because it's too low. I mean, right. These are things that people don't think about, but at the moment, maybe they matter. And it's like my thing with, just trying to pay attention to all the little things when I drive a car. I mean, I want to know, like my notes from this recent drive, the way the seat and the console are oriented, my right leg, it hits a solid bone in my what's the one below your knee? What's that?
That's your tibia.
Your tibia. My tibia shin bone has a knob on the end of it that lands right on this console. and it would hurt me after 20 minutes. I would, and so in my mind, I'm like, this would be a great car, drive across country. Yeah, 20 minutes in, I'm fidgeting in the seat. And it's because nobody thought about this stuff. Or here's another great one, and it's an idea that, customers have come to us with in the past. Second gen Firebird Camaro bullet side mirrors. We love the look of them. We put them on first gen cars. We modified them. You ever try to see out of one of those things? They're horrible. They're tiny. It's just the glass, and then the adjusting mechanism flops around, and they're not the concave, and somebody could say, well, sure, old man, you can't see. Well, no, my vision's perfect for distance. And when you're trying to look basically through a keyhole at the stuff behind you, and it's only because you're not used to it. You're used to a modern car with big mirrors and maybe screens and all this stuff. So pay attention to all those things so that when you finish the car, it's nice. And my example of somebody who's got money and time invested in a car and all of a sudden they don't like it, they tend to shy away from it. And pretty soon it's sitting in the garage and they don't take it out. And or only under very certain circumstances, like it's got to be a perfect day outside because they don't like the way the wipers work and they can't see out the back window and the defroster isn't there, or it doesn't have air conditioning, or it gets hot, so it can't be a nice sunny day because it's on the ragged edge of overheating, or it's super loud, because of the exhaust, so you can't leave, at 5 a.m. to go to a coffee cruise or come home late at night because you don't want to piss off the world. And all these excuses pile up, and then you get the friction internally of, why'd you put all the money in that car? You never use it.
No, I don't want to take the hot rod. Let's drive the family car.
Yeah. And they're looking enviously at their buddy who bought something and just basically threw a tune-up on it and is out having the time of their lives.
Yeah. Yep.
So all of this is 100% avoidable. Again, with parts choices, the Ford 9-inch, and when I say Ford, all right, Ford developed and designed and manufactured that, and there are aftermarket versions of the 9-inch that are made by various different companies. And the 9-inch, the attraction for it is the design has a center section that drops out that you can change gears real easy. Racers love it because they can have 3 or 4 of these centers all set up. You go to a track, pick what gear set they want, bolt it in, go race. They're like impossible to break. Very, very strong, excellent rear end, but it comes with a price. And there's been all kinds of strategies to make them more street friendly. And, so the first point is like, well, hey, I have a Ford van, an Econoline or whatever from the 90s with a Ford 9-inch in it and a 351 or an earlier one with a 460 or something. And I drove that for 200,000 miles and never noticed the rear end at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it
was 15 feet behind you and you had all kinds of stuff in that van.
Yep, you had rubber bushings from the factory. You had shock absorbers with rubber bushings on them. You had noise control devices in place that Ford did. Plus, Ford set the thing up. In when I say set up, they're the ones that installed the gears, and they installed a certain type of gear that was made in Detroit and not in a country somewhere else.
A land far away.
Well, yeah, long ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Pretty much.
And you can call any of the manufacturers or shops that build and sell gear sets and center sections, and they will tell you that, you got to stay away from certain ones because they make a lot of noise. They do. So there are also processes that certain companies have come up with. There's a REM polish process, which is a microfine. It's like a tumbler almost. You put the gear set in this media, and it micro polishes the finish and the face of the gears, and it takes off any little tiny edge of the teeth, and that quiets them significantly, right?
Sure.
It also, quadruples the price of the gear set easily.
Well, there's that.
And so then this is one of those things. It's like, okay, well, you can have a quiet 9-inch. We got to mount it properly. The gears have to be of the right brand and construction. They have to be treated, maybe cryogenically treated and REM polished, Right. And then on top of that, they have to be set up to where the pinion depth, as it meshes with the ring gear, has to be
spot on.
Right. Well, and spot on means different things because that design is going to generate some sound, and it becomes a personal preference. We like to set them up so that the sound creation occurs under acceleration load, and ideally,
but
if it's going to make noise, it'll be maybe as you coast and not as you cruise or accelerate.
I got you.
And when you go down the road, and you've heard this before, it's like drive, you reach your cruising speed, and then you start to get off the gas a little bit, and all of a sudden you hear, and you give it a little more gas, and it comes back, just as you feather that throttle,
Right.
It becomes a game in your head. You're like, where's the ideal speed that this won't howl? Well, it's not a speed, it's a load. It's the amount of accelerating you're doing or coasting you're doing.
Right.
And I should actually rephrase that. I mean, most cars are at cruising or decel a little bit, and there's a transition there, and you want it to be quiet there. When you're accelerating, the engine usually covers the sound. I don't know.
Sure.
But all right, so bigger picture. Why did we have to have the 9-inch in the first place? Well, I saw that they're strong. Well, so can be a 10 bolt.
Sure.
So can be an 8.8. So can be a 12 bolt. So can be, even an independent out of a more modern car, Dana 44s. Well, don't do those. Those break. But anyway, things that you can put in the car. And it's funny, like on again, to pick on Camaro Firebird F-body cars, they were designed to have a particular 10 bolt or 12 bolt from GM. And those are pretty quiet. It's a different style. And you can get different gears. Now you don't have that luxury of being able to unbolt the middle, pull the center out, put a different center in.
Right.
But this also gets back to the honesty of, well, how many times do you really do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, for a guy like me, I'm going to treat it like a Ronco rotisserie oven. I'm going to set it and forget it. And that's going to be it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, so my Galaxy had a 9-inch from 1962, an original Ford one, and it was a 3.0 gear. And I wanted a higher performance gear set. So I ended up putting a Mosier full 12 or full 9-inch assembly from one end to the other with a 373 gear, and I think it's got an Auburn style limited slip, so a cone type limited slip, and it's great. I drive it, everything's wonderful. I'm very happy with it because the top's down all the time.
You're hearing everything else.
It took me like the first time I put the top up in the car, and I think I actually had the back seat out because I think I was working on the top pump mechanism, so the top's going up and down, and I needed that access to get to the pump. And I drove it with top up and no back seat, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this thing's making some noise. I never knew it. I just never knew it, and it wasn't wrong or bad. It's just there's some noise there. And then I added a rear sway bar to the car, which physically bolts to the rear axle housing, and then 2 links come forward to the frame, and it was like turning up the volume on that rear axle noise, and it's like, son of a gun.
Interesting.
So yeah, so again, being honest with yourself, if you're open to, if you have to have the 9-inch and the sound matters, there's ways you can get there. If it doesn't really matter, you just need the right gear ratio and something that's going to be built strong enough to last. Most street cars, a 10 bolt will live just fine. A 12 bolt for sure. Or other styles are out there, or a Ford 8.8. Those are really becoming popular. And it's funny, the 8.8 is almost a carbon copy of a GM 10 bolt.
No kidding. That's awesome.
Yeah, if you look at it, because Ford knew it. They knew that the design of the 9 had its limitation. 8.8s can make noise too. I mean, I remember, but it takes a long time to wear one out. And they get louder as they get older because the teeth wear. But when I'm talking wear them out, I'm talking like you jump in a cab, like a Ford Crown Vic cab that's been around since the early 2000s, that rear end's going to make noise.
Sure.
Oh yeah. It just is.
Yeah. Well, it's got
that's not what we're talking about.
400,000 miles on it. Of course it is.
Yeah, and it's still going fine, with no maintenance probably. So, but you can get all kinds of different setups. And in fact, Gear Effects, right, a couple of years ago, really lended credence to this concept because they make a 9-inch carrier that has 8.8 gears in it.
Really?
Yes. So they solved kind of both problems. It interchanges with the 9, but it's an 8.8 setup. And I think it's called the FN8, if I remember correctly.
Oh, you know what? I think you've talked about this once before. Maybe not necessarily on the show, but just in casual conversation. Yeah, and I think I remember you saying something about that. Yeah, that's a pretty trick setup. Huh.
So again, keeping all the rest of the stuff, and I remember when we built the Reloaded Camaro. I mean, that's got Detroit Speed front suspension with their coilover mounts welded in, but we put rubber subframe bushings in. It's got a Detroit Speed Quadrolink 4-link in the back on a Curry 9-inch. And Curry, at the time, I think they still do, they have a dyno. So they dyno run all their gear sets to make sure that they're set up right. And the Reloaded car has sound deadening. It's got carpet. It's got comfortable seats. It's got all the rubber that it's supposed to have, all the weather stripping, so that car is wonderful.
I've had
sound inside.
I've had the good pleasure of having a ride in that car before, and yes, you are right. It is quite a nice car to ride in, and there is very little handling compromise, despite the rubber in there, and that thing goes, man. It goes around a corner nicely. It accelerates very nicely. It is a well built car.
Well, it's a full roller 490-inch big block Chevy with fuel injection and ported heads and headers and a street level compression ratio, so it runs good on regular gas.
Yeah,
and it's got Magnaflows and mandrel bent stainless exhaust, and so the sounds you hear are the sounds you want to hear, not the sounds that kind of come along for the ride. And like you said, it outhandles most of the drivers. It does not get competitively autocrossed. It rarely gets driven to its full potential based on the geography of where the guy lives. He just can't take it out and thrash on it because he lives in a populated area that doesn't have wide open roads to do it, and you got to consider that too. So that car has one sound in it that we've been chasing forever that I can't get rid of, or we haven't figured out yet. I think I know what it might be, but it's when you are backing up and you turn the steering wheel slowly, there's a little bit of a howl in the column somewhere. You turn the wheel and it goes, it's just this little, it is.
That's weird.
And I think we probably got to pull the column apart and lubricate something. We've changed the steering gearbox. It's a Detroit Speed box. It's a good box. We changed the steering pump on it very early on, thinking, that was a quick way to just get there. So that car's not without fault, but I haven't driven that thing. Yeah, I drove that car in November of 24 last. Okay, so over a year ago, and I still remember that sound. And this is why these things are important. My apologies to the owner because it shouldn't have that sound.
Right.
And he knows, and he doesn't, he's not beating me up over it, but it'd be cool if it went away.
Right.
So the parts are magnificent. I mean, even the Delrin bushing stuff, even stuff with Heim joints in it. If you want to go that far, the parts will do, the performance of the car will be there. But let's not just blow off things that, I think the mentality was in the 60s, like everybody, 60s and 70s and 80s, if you found a 70 Chevelle and it had air conditioning, what's the first thing you do? Rip the air conditioning out and throw it out because you saved yourself a couple $100.
Yeah.
Which I get. Back then, it's like, it didn't matter.
Right.
And then rip the sound deadener out and rip the bench out, put a bucket in it and start building the motor. Well, today we have, and the reason why is like power was hard to come by. Power is hard to make. So save ounces, it's free power. Take weight off the car, it's adding free power. And they used to say, what was it, 100 pounds is a couple horsepower or something.
Right, or like a tenth in the quarter mile or something if you take 100 pounds out.
Yeah. And I don't know, how true that is anymore. But today, I would much rather build a car that fits the driver, that the steering wheel feels right, that the seat isn't fatiguing, that the pedal placement is there, that the sight lines, the gauges, the mirrors, the audio system, the AC, the doors close right, the rubber, it doesn't leak, goes around turns, stops, and then we just amplify the power to cover all that stuff, right? To take any perceived detriment away, because power is a lot easier to make today than it was with modern engines. So,
true, very true. I wanted to back up a little bit. You're talking about the side mirrors. I thought that was kind of funny because my GTO just has the stock driver side round mirror, and I don't know why the engineers placed it where they did, but by golly, that is hard to see out of. And there's not even a passenger side mirror, as it wasn't mandated at the time. And I always find myself, when I'm driving the car, trying to check my mirror to my right, and there's no mirror there. I'm like, God dang it. And you got to crank your head around to see it. And that's just one of those huge differences of driving a classic versus driving like my Suburban, which has massive mirrors on the sides. And you can see everything, for Pete's sake. And it's really funny the how different it feels when you do get into that older car than it is from your modern. I just thought that was kind of funny when you brought up the side mirrors on that. I wanted to touch on that.
Well, yeah, and that's totally a thing. My Galaxy in '62, it didn't have to have any side mirrors.
No kidding. Holy cats. And
when we got the car, it had none. And it just had the dash, the windshield mirror.
Right.
So I put an original style driver's side mirror on it, and it sucks. It's a little flat round thing, like what you got.
Right.
And, the Galaxy has a vent window, so it interferes with the mirror.
Yes.
The placement. And again, I think we are very used to all the visibility provided by modern cars. Mm-hmm. And believe me, I don't want to see some giant side mirror sticking on a classic car either.
True.
And one of our great customers, a great friend of ours, Joey Scafidi, that we did that 77 Trans Am for.
Yes.
He drove the car from our shop in the Midwest to Maryland to take it home when he picked it up. And he's like, I love it. I hate the mirrors. I can't see,
Mm-hmm.
And that car actually had kind of an interesting story with the side mirrors, because it was a silver car, but the mirrors were black. And we said, well, when we repaint the car, we'll color match the mirrors the way they're supposed to be. And he's like, no, my dad painted those mirrors black back in the day, so I want that look. Great. He gets home, he's like, I hate them. So he went down kind of a rabbit hole, and he's like, hey, I found some like 06 Charger mirrors. Can we put those on the car? And he sent us some, and we mocked them up. And it's like, this looks like, Dumbo. We put these giant things on this. You just ruin the look of the car. And he's like, oh, we can't do that either. So what's the answer, right? And part of it is technology. So we have a car that I recently drove in the shop that the rear view in the windshield is also a camera. It's got a display. So half of it is a rear view camera. The other half is actual mirror reflective glass.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I have that in my van as well, so you get a nice wide view in the back.
Yeah, you need that in that van.
Well, that thing, that's like driving a building. So,
right.
So that's an option. I often thought I'll let a potential product idea out of the bag here a little bit, but maybe we do. Maybe we produce a second gen bullet mirror that's just 15% bigger. The housing looks the same. It's just 15% bigger, and then put a really slight concave on it. and now all of a sudden they're a little more useful, right?
Could be cool.
Yeah, and ideally it mounts using the stock bracket. You just unscrew one, put this on, and done deal. If you'd buy one of those, let me know. We'll do a little market research here.
Yeah, there we go. Well, that's funny because speaking of second-gen mirrors, you put, I believe it was a set of second-gen F-body mirrors on the blue 67 GTO that the shop built a number of years ago. And even though, one person doesn't like them, I think those were an improvement over the stock mirrors that car initially had. Because they are a little bit wider. You can get a better field of vision from those, and they actually look good on that car too. When they're painted body color, that bullet shaped mirror, it actually looked really nice on that car, and I think it did improve side views as well.
I don't know. I always thought that up until the mid '70s, the team that designed the mirrors was in a different building. It's like they design the car and it goes through all the stages and it's like, oh, last stop, get the mirror guys, and then they take a chrome thing and stick it on and send it. And they never. You look at first gen Camaro mirrors. Yeah, they're rectangular, dainty, chrome stalked things, and it's like, where does this fit on this car?
Yeah,
and thank God they came up with the sport mirror, the bullet style, in the second gen. And of course, today, if you have an original Camaro, and now we're kind of used to seeing those, and I don't think people question them, but it makes such a big difference in the way the car looks by doing that. For sure. That bullet mirror. So our friend Murray Comant, actually, the designer, he came up with an idea for my Galaxy, because I want to put a passenger side mirror on this car, and I am not happy with the original. So all the original Ford mirrors that I've found have been pitted and just kind of worn out condition, and they didn't make a passenger side, so you can get a reproduction chrome dainty stock flat disc mirror that doesn't really enhance the lines of the car at all. But Murray sent me a sketch with Shelby GT500 chrome bullet mirrors from a 67 Mustang. Okay. And oh my gosh, they are completely at home on this 62 Ford.
Is that right?
Because they've got, you wouldn't think it, but when you look at it, this car has all kinds of polished stainless and rocket ship kind of, styling to it. And coming up the side of the car, there's I'm going to call it a double wide piece of stainless that necks down to a single wide at the on the front fender, and when it necks down from the double to the single, it bullet points down. It doesn't just cut off square, and the mirror echoes that little bullet transition. It just oh man, that makes so much sense now, and nobody's ever done it before. Yeah, so this is also why you work with people that have a good sense of design, because Murray's got a great eye, and he's like, he didn't even tell me about it. He's like, how about this? I'm like, oh man. So
nice.
On the list to do, and those were also a lot of times racing mirrors, so they were convex, I guess, to give you a wider feel. And it's funny you talk about mirrors. One of the things that I also think is interesting is I didn't know how to set mirrors until I read an article on it.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Tell me what you do, because I have my own theories on how to set mirrors.
Yeah. Well, if you're looking in your mirrors and you see any part of your own car in the reflection, you did it wrong.
Yes. Agreed. I set mine. So I have the center view out of my rear view mirror. And the way I set the driver's side mirror is when I see a car coming up, like in the lane to my left, and the car's front corner is just starting to disappear from the rear view mirror, it's just starting to appear in the side view mirror. And what that does is it all but eliminates any blind spots you have on your sides. And I do that for the passenger side as well. And it all but eliminates any of that blind spot. So you don't have to crane your head around looking to see if there's a car behind you. You can look right in your mirror, and if you see any part of a car that's in your side view mirror but not in your rear view mirror, it's right on your side and it's behind you, but you can still see it.
Yes. Yeah, and that's basically the philosophy. And it was explained to me where your side view mirrors need to be showing you the area next to your car and a little bit behind your car, so that if you just jerked the wheel and moved over a lane, you're clear.
Correct. Yes.
You can see what's in it. And I know that every person is a different height and their eyes are in different places in their head, and they sit differently and all the rest. But I can't tell you how many times I get into people's cars and you're looking at the quarter panel.
Yes. I'm talking to both of my children right now. Your mirrors are set incorrectly.
Yeah. And it's that quarter panel isn't going to come get me. I'm not worried about that. Now, I also know that, if you're going to parallel park or back into a spot or something, you kind of need to know where the back of the car is, but that's when you turn your head or whatnot.
Sure. For sure.
And then to your point also, like when you get behind the wheel of the GTO, and like most of us, when we get behind the wheel of our hot rod or our cool car, it's not instantly familiar where the corners are because we don't drive it all the time.
Right.
So that visibility is important. And, today's cars with the sensors and the proximity sensors and the cameras and all the rest, I mean, and a lot of them literally do park themselves.
Yeah, you can almost just close your eyes and back it up, and you're fine because all the sounds will tell you what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember seeing the commercials, and this probably goes back almost 10 years, where a guy takes his hand off the wheel and it self-parallel parks.
Yeah, yeah.
Kids today, they
don't know how good they've got it.
Yeah.
Try to parallel park a 72 Buick Century, then talk to me.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Or a 79 Dodge Maxi van in the city.
That too.
So I guess at the end of the day, for getting back to the very beginning of this story, when we get a car that's already been done a certain way, sometimes it becomes a little challenging because the customer's like, well, I already paid a bunch of money for this 9-inch rear end, right? Which is fine. They just need to understand that it's going to make some noise. And if that is okay with them, then it's not a problem with me. I mean, I want what you want, and we want to help you get what you want. But if there's something that you don't want, there's ways that we can probably help make that better. And maybe, we just change the bushings or change a mount or something or whatever. Just do something a little differently.
We can do that, or just make a future plan and say, okay, I can't do it now, but maybe, next season I'll be ready to do all this rear end stuff and rear suspension upgrades to make it a little more of what I want the car to be and not what it is now. So all day long.
And so that's a great strategy. I encourage everybody to keep a notepad in the car. And as you're driving it, just note those little things that bother you or that need attention, because I'm the guy who, as soon as I get behind the wheel of one of my old cars, it all comes back to me. Oh, I was supposed to change the bulb behind the speedometer. I never did. Then I get out of the car and it's gone.
Yeah. Oh, I have that wind noise that I forgot about. At expressway speeds. Oh, boy. Where are my earplugs?
So much.
Yeah.
That is a great one. Yeah. Yeah. That wind whistle, or when I turn the wheel to the left, it squeaks. My van did that for a long time. So there are many times, we like to think that, going to build the car and the car's be finished. Well, no, there's generally a refinement period after that. So maybe it's not on this round, but take it home. And for this whole summer, drive the wheels off. Well, drive it a lot.
Right.
And,
get used to it.
Become
acquainted with it to understand all of its quirks.
And then make a list of things. If it leaks, if it stinks, if it makes noise, if it's not fast enough, anything. And then at the end of the season, let's talk and say, okay, these are some things I experienced. And then we go, yeah, that one's an easy one. We can fix that. Or this one might require a little bit more. Or if you need power, maybe it's a cam swap, maybe it's a supercharger or whatever. And that becomes, later projects. And then eventually, I would be remiss if I say eventually you'll get there and it's going to be exactly what you want, because what I've learned is that the next round of refinement, they just get smaller and smaller.
For sure. And I think it's important to make your list of not just things you do like or don't like, but things you do like as well. Because the last thing you want to do is, if you're correcting one of those things that you don't like, it also eliminates the things that you do like, and that would be unfortunate.
That would, and here's another thing: if you write down, boy, that's a great idea there, Mr. Cueball.
Hey.
If you write down all the things that you like about the car, you're going to like that car even more. Because it's going to remind you, especially if you can remember what it was, if you're making big changes. As I look back again on my Galaxy and I remember how this thing used to steer, basically how it steers now compared, oh my gosh, it's a million times better.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you've driven it. So it's nice to remind yourself that, yeah, we're making a lot of progress on this thing. And it's been time, it's been money, it's been some frustration, but it's the results are there, you know.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
What I
we
like.
should all build cars.
See, this is an important episode.
It is.
Did I lie?
No, not at all. Never. Never, ever.
Yeah. And then as just the other thing too is the advertising and the promotion is wonderful. We need it. We need more of it. I keep, there are people who, Tim Strange is a great example, a friend of ours who is a magazine guy through and through. And if it was up to him, every car magazine ever would be still on the newsstands. And I came out of magazines. I love magazines. And what I miss, number one, is like buyer's guides. There used to be like, hey, here's CarCraft's roller cam buyer's guide. I compared all of them that were available now.
Yes. Oh, I remember that.
Oh, yeah. Or here's
that
a front
cool.
suspension guide for Mustangs or whatever. And manufacturers would all send in the photography and the specs, and then they'd grid this stuff out. And so today, nobody does that. If you want to know about something, it's a one-way source. You got to think, I want to learn about high-performance suspension systems for 68 Mustangs. I got to Google that, and then I just get what I get. Mm-hmm. And chances are it's not a comparison, meaning like, and I don't need like, oh, we installed all these kits and compared them. That's great. But what I would really like to know is like, does this one come with spindles? And does this kit have urethane or rubber? Just a grid of like the differences. And you don't get that in a YouTube review or a video that's made by the manufacturer. You get the points of theirs alone. So I still rely on ads very much so, and media and promotional materials to learn about this stuff. But I look at this with the eye of, okay, my experience is that this might be a little radical for the street, or if we do install this, we got to make sure that these other things, like you're saying, are still looked after and accounted for, so that we don't diminish the rest of the experience.
Sure. I mean, we can get you can get a good buyer's guide from like Consumer Reports, but I really don't give a flip what the best dishwasher is. So maybe
right.
Maybe we get a good Consumer Reports for car parts, for cool aftermarket parts.
Well, and SEMA does a good job of new product releases. So like every issue of the SEMA magazine has a category that might be four-wheel and off-road new stuff. And that's pretty cool, because that's a nice benefit for those who have displayed new products at the show. They also go in the magazine, and I refer to those all the time. But again, it's made by the manufacturer, so it's the benefits, but it's not necessarily A to B.
Yeah, but not necessarily new products, but established products. Like, it'd be cool if you can get a comparison of like a Ride-Tech 4-link rear suspension versus a Detroit Speed 4-link rear suspension for a first-gen Camaro, and see what the ins and outs are for either one of those, and what the compromises are, and how well they perform. So that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. It is. And the other thing to recognize is that a lot of manufacturers know that there should be different levels of intensity on their products. Yeah. So you look at Roadster Shop, they've got different families of chassis. One is designed to deliver that cross-country, comfortable drive, quiet experience, where another one is designed to be on the track all the time. And you just got to, again, be realistic and honest to say, yeah, although the track version it's pretty cool, maybe I need the I guess the spec chassis is the one that is the street version that you can enjoy comfortably. So, different companies that make suspension parts, sometimes they'll make the same type of product with a rubber bushing or a Delrin or an aluminum or, a rod end, depending on what your goals are.
Right.
But here's the other thing. If you know somebody who's got a car, see if they'll let you drive it or at least ride in it and experience what we're talking about. Experience like, oh yeah, I drove my buddy's car and he's got Brand X front to back and it was perfect. I loved it. Or yeah, I remember we couldn't listen to my Deep Purple records because I couldn't hear the guy over all the noise.
I love it.
My K-pop or whatever you're listening to these days.
Oh my goodness! I couldn't listen to my Debbie Boone. God dang it!
Yeah. Which brings me to a quick gear shift, and that is we had a fun event at the shop the other night, and you participated even though you were an at-home player.
That's true. I was an at-home player.
Yes, and so we've done this in the past, but we just did it again, and we call this the V8 Speed and Resto Playlist Challenge, in which we put it out to everybody on our team to pick 3 songs that are significant to them, and then we get together after work and buy pizza and drinks, and I go into game show host mode, and we bring up 3 or 4 contestants at a time that are members of our team, and we introduce them and ask them silly questions, where you're from and just, goofy stuff. If you were a goldfish, what color would you be? And blah, blah, blah. And, just kind of set the mood. But then we play 3 songs, and then the studio audience, being the rest of the crew, needs to guess who picked those songs, which member of the team picked those songs. And then at the end, we ask the individuals why a particular song was significant to them. And, because music's very important and we all have the stuff that we like. So it was fun. We had a big turnout. Unfortunately, not everybody could make it, including yourself. So the people that couldn't make it, a lot of them sent in their songs, and we included you in the mix. So you were there as a featured person, and people had to guess your songs in the mix too. And
did anybody guess?
Oh yeah, a couple people got it, and so the key is like who we put you up against.
Oh, okay.
Because we would do like 3 or 4 individuals at a time, and maybe one was an at-home player, and then of these 4 people, like which person likes this song, and then they write them down. So I then took, at the request of everybody, I took all of the songs and put them in a giant playlist. So that everybody could share and listen to them on their own.
Do you have that in shareable form? I'd love to get that.
I do actually, and so I shared it on our internal Facebook group.
Oh, you did? Oh, I missed that. All right,
first.
I'll go back and look.
Yeah, so that's there. But I think you had a little Police in your mix, and some Warren Zevon.
Yep.
And some Jane's Addiction. Some good stuff.
That's right. Just a nice little mix and match. Trying to throw people off a little bit.
So between Jane's Addiction, Mountain Song, Lawyers, Guns, and Money from Warren Zevon, and Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic by the Police. Yes. Of those 3, which one is the most significant and why?
Probably the Police. Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. The first time I heard that track, I was just kind of mesmerized by it. I remember listening to it in 8th grade mechanical drawing class. Our teacher had a radio in there, and that was when that song was in heavy rotation. And it just reminded me of that all the time, of a bygone era. I don't even know if they have mechanical drawing class in high school anymore, or junior high, or middle school for that matter. But when I got in the Air Force, my roommate, one of my best friends, I still have today, my friend Vince, had the Police, every little thing she does, the classics, which was a greatest hits album for the Police, and that song was on there. And every time I would go back to our dorm room, I would put that CD in a player and play that song. It meant that much to me, and I loved it that much. So, and it still sticks with me today. So that's why I love it so much.
Right on.
Yeah.
I am going to put a link to this playlist on our V8 Radio Facebook page.
Cool.
So if you want to tune in and hear all the different tunes, the three that that I chose, one is a giant John Hyatt song called "The Rest of the Dream."
That tracks.
It's a great song and not super widely known, but next was Stevie Winwood with "While You'll See a Chance, Take It."
Nice.
And then my third was, of course, Freddie Jones Band in a Daydream, which is it's probably my second all-time favorite song. It was a rerun from the first time we did this exercise a couple of years ago.
I mean, it's in the Chicagoland bylaws that you have to like that song anyway.
Yeah, if you grew up in the Chicago area, Freddie Jones was a band that played huge in Chicago. They play all over the place, but that song came out in the 90s, and the opening line is "Tuesday morning never looks so good. I'm already in a daydream," and it's musically it's great, lyrically it's great, and I have a ton of great memories of going out and driving. I bought a '69 Riviera in California and was driving it across the Nevada desert in the middle of summer with that tune cranked, and it was like perfect. And then I've seen Freddie Jones, and my cousin knows those guys, and
nice.
Been in many bars and many fun times. It's just a great association of a great time song, so I threw that in there. So then what we did is everybody who got a correct answer got a point, and then we tallied up the points, and there was a winner. And take a guess who the winner was, meaning if you extrapolate, the person that kind of knows the most about the people.
It was Miss Kelly Oeste was our big winner.
It was.
Woo-hoo!
For the second time.
The second time?
Yeah.
Holy cats.
Yeah, she won it the first time too.
She knows us.
And
she knows all of us.
She does. Yeah, she spends time to know everybody, and it was fun because I don't know that everybody realizes that, that a lot of times you feel detached from a business owner.
Sure, you can.
You show up at a place and you do your job, and the business owner is in the other room or in their office or wherever, and you don't know that there's any kind of connection there. But Kelly has now proved twice over the span of measured over the span of at least 3 years, and I know for a fact since day one that she goes. It's a super high priority to be connected to every person in the business. So it was cool.
She pays attention. That's for sure.
Two for two.
Mm-hmm. Right on. When you were in game show host mode, were you wearing your Wink Martindale-esque CBS Sports jacket?
I did not have the CBS Sport or the ABC Sports jacket
ABC
on, but what
Sports.
I did have, the gold jacket that I wore at McCacken. What I did have was a primo 1968 vintage polyester shirt that I got from my dad.
Oh, the best. All right. we need some stills from that evening.
And so Julie, our HR person, took some photos and stuff, and then she's like, I don't know, some events need to be private. They don't need to be shared with the world.
Right on.
But all right, so maybe that'll be the lead image for this episode. If you're listening on Spotify and you see the image of the V8 radio thing, that's the shirt.
Right on. That's great.
So kind of, it was cool.
Good deal.
So you know what else is cool?
Tell me, Kevin, what else is cool?
That would be the answers to our riveting trivia questions.
Oh man, you are so right. All right, well let's get into it. All right, so I asked you, what term did Oldsmobile use to describe their two-door hardtop cars with no B-pillar post? And Kevin said immediately, well, that would be the Holiday. And Kevin, you are a winner.
Hey!
All right. That is truly
I think I just wet myself.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Winner, chicken dinner. Yeah.
Recently, some of these have not been like a clear right and wrong answer.
Yeah.
It's good that one
well,
was.
it's mostly the ones you ask me are clearly a wrong answer I give.
Well, speaking of that, let's see. No, speaking of answers, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So the question was, what was the last mass-produced vehicle that could be started by a hand crank? And your answer was the 1925 Ford Model A. And that's a great guess because, we see all the imagery of people out in those old films cranking those cars and getting them started. It was just a little bit later than that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
The correct answer actually belongs to a Russian small SUV. It's the 1998 Lada Niva.
Dude. That was for that question, not for my incorrect answer. You suck out loud sometimes. I swear.
That was great.
Oh, gee whiz.
Well, I was very surprised to learn that little piece of trivia that 1998 you could still hand crank your Lada.
I think the entire world is surprised to learn that answer.
Yes.
Good heavens. 1998 Lada Niva.
Yeah, and it's funny, Kelly and I have you to thank for tipping us off on a television show called The Americans.
Yes.
Which is a series about a couple of Soviet Union-era spies in the 1980s that lived in the United States.
As American citizens, yeah. As
American citizens, and it's a good show. It's well done, and I was hesitant to start watching this because I don't like a lot of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I just don't.
We grew up in Cold War America, man. I mean, the Red Scare, all the better dead than red sayings and all that. Oh, man. Yeah.
And I think we have forgotten so much about that, and about how much that Soviet influence was over the U.S. in the 80s and the early 90s. And so Kelly didn't have the same type of media exposure that I did growing up. She's a little younger than me and grew up in a rural farm area and was too busy working on the farm than watching TV like I was.
Right.
So she's like, really? Is that there were spies? Like spies? What are you talking about? Like spies? And I'm like, yeah, there were spies.
Yeah.
And I said, don't you remember? Like everything was Russian back in those days. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, Rocky IV. We fought the Russians. Look at the Wendy's commercial. They were very nice.
Yeah.
Evening were and Yakov Smirnov. And in Soviet Russia, car cranks you.
Yeah,
and all the stuff.
Yes.
Yes. The whole imagery of Reagan and Gorbachev, with rifles pointed at each other, both with their finger on the button to mutually assured destruction. That was the term. Remember the red scale, like you're saying.
I don't know if you got to this part yet. I hate to digress like this, but there was a scene where the female character was waiting for this person to come out, and she had an umbrella, and on the tip of the umbrella there was a poison, and she kind of walked next to this guy and fake like she tripped, and she poked this guy with the umbrella tip in his leg, and it injected a poison in him. And that actually happened. That was a real event that actually occurred that we learned about when I was in the Air Force when they were talking about the Russians. And when I saw that, I lost my mind. I'm like, I'm jumping up and down. I'm like, that really happened. And my wife is looking at me like, you are out of your mind, man. I'll be, that was factual. That happened. And it was really neat how they're very authentic with that show, with some of these things that they're doing. It's crazy.
Well, it's a pretty good show. We enjoyed watching it, and again, it was a look back at a time that thankfully we're not in right now. And I'm certainly not getting political on this podcast at all, but it made me actually look at Russian cars because the car culture is strong in Central Europe and in Russia and a lot of those countries. They love them. But so there's all these interesting cars that never got imported to the United States. These Ladas and Simcas and the Chaika,
Trabant.
which was the Gaz Chaika, which was the presidential limousine equivalent. And then there was the Chinese version of that. And there was a great photograph that showed, I think it was Reagan's, it was newer than that, maybe Clinton's Cadillac presidential limousine. So that would have been like 92, 93, parked next to the Russian version of the same year, parked next to the Chinese version of the same year.
Really?
And the Chinese car looked like it was built in the 50s.
Oh, man. And
the styling was like Packard stuff. And that was, in the early 90s. Today, of course, everything's different. But so, I'm all about looking at the cool cars. And it's like, wow, these are pretty wild. And the Peterson Automotive Museum has some of those Russian limousines and other Russian cars and stuff you just don't see. So, when I saw that little thing in my little tangent of Russian cars, I'm like, does that have a hand crank?
Nice. I have to learn more about this.
Yeah. Well, and to credit that show, the Americans, they do a phenomenal job of having 80s era cars in the show and in the background.
Agreed. Yeah, I'm wondering where they're getting all these Malays-like cars. It's crazy. Someone's got a heck of a collection.
That whole thing is set in like 1982 or so.
Yeah, I think it starts in 82, 83, something like that.
And there's like, a 77 Buick Regal 4-door drives by.
Yep.
And then, like you said, Malays cars and cars that are not, a lot of times when Hollywood does a scene from the past, it looks like you went to a car show. There's like a 69 Camaro Kragers and everything else.
Right.
And in this episode, I only saw one example of that, and it was actually a blue 68 Camaro on Kragers in the background. But Dodge Darts and K cars and, all those forgotten things. So it was like, wow, this is pretty cool.
All very stock looking, like zero mods on anything, because that's how it was for, the majority of everybody. They just drove their factory stock car. So.
Yeah, my neighbor had a 78 Plymouth Grand Fury Salon, and there's one of those in that show, and I'm like, oh my god,
that's awesome.
So that was the non-police car version of the Roscoe P. Coltrane Dukes of Hazzard cop car body style,
right?
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for the tip on that show, and that's why we ended up with the Russian car, and so it's all your fault.
Yeah,
you did it to yourself, pal.
I'll take the blame. I only have myself to blame.
Yeah, see.
For this incorrect answer, it's my fault. I'll take the hits.
That's right. You didn't recommend that show. I never would have gone down a Russian car rabbit hole and ended up with that. So.
Dig it.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, this was fun. We appreciate taking the time to hang out with us here at the V8 Radio Podcast. If you enjoyed this show, make sure you smash that subscribe button.
Oh, smash it all to heck.
I don't know if that worked last time, but we got the text from our friend Chris Ron.
We did. Yeah.
About smashing the subscribe button.
Smash it.
Go to the Facebook page at V8 Radio to see the playlist. And that's about all I got on this beautiful Saturday as we are recording this one. Anything else to throw in there, Mr. Q-Ball?
No new word on the GTO engine. Everything is stagnant. That's my update.
Well, we'll tune in next time.
Yeah. For another non-update.
Tune in next time to hear Mike say... Well, I know I'll be listening.
I love it.
Nothing like Tuba Tone's cue ball over there to
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, for Mr. Mike Cue Ball Clarke, I'm Kevin Oeste, thanking you for spending some enjoyable time with us, and we had fun on the V8 Radio podcast. And keep the shiny side up, and we will talk to you next time on V8 Radio.